All right, this is an instructional on how to operate the Hydrocart. First thing always is hook up your water. This is a quick connect. Hooks up right here. And make sure you push it on far enough that it locks. So the water's already running. It won't run until this is attached to the male end of the quick connect. So it's locked. Come around here. This is your flush valve. You open that up when you hook up the water, and that flushes out your RO membrane. So while that's flushing, we'll go through the different housings. So up front here, you have your sediment filter, your carbon. This is the DI, and this big one in the back is your RO. You can back up a little bit and I'll explain it. You're pointing at me. All right, so right now there's no filters in your sediment, carbon, or DI. The only filter in here is the RO. So most of the time you will have filters in all of them. But right now we're just trying to check what the RO, reverse osmosis filter, is putting out for a TDS level. The TDS is your total dissolved solids. That's what you check with this meter here. So to check that, we will shut this flush valve. You always, this is your wastewater line. That'll always have water coming out of it. And then we'll go right here. This is our pure water. So without the motor running, we don't get great pressure. But to check the TDS level, we're gonna have to wait a minute for all the air to drain. Actually, we'll just turn on the motor right now. So this is your plug. Check that the light turns on when you plug it in. That's how you know you've got power. You always want to have water running through the machine before you plug it in. Otherwise, you'll burn out the motor. Now, when I turn this on, pressure's going to kick up a lot. See the water? It's kind of milky. We haven't run this all winter, so we're going to have to flush it out really good. Open the flush valve back up. This is flushing out the whole reverse osmosis filter. Do that for about a minute. When you open the flush valve, you want to over here, okay? Over by this, on this side of me.
Oh my gosh.
So this is your pressure. With the flush valve open, it's just about at 0. When I shut it, it should go back up to around 100, maybe 140. 140 is about what you want it at. Now you can see we've got a lot more pressure out of our pure water line. Take my TDS meter. So again, we're just checking what the reverse osmosis filter is putting out for a TDS level right now. Fill that, flush it out one time. Turn this on. And you stick it on the bottom. So we're at 17. Always a good idea to double check. 14. So that's pretty good. With just the reverse osmosis filter on, you want your TDS level to be below about 40. Basically that is the filter that the water runs through before it goes into the DI filter. The DI is what gets it down to single digits or ideally 0. So the reverse osmosis filter, you want to be removing about 90% of your sediment. So that filter is still good. This one you should hardly ever have to change. It's about once every 2 years. These two, your carbon and sediment, you're going to be needing to change about every 40 to 60 hours of operation. And this will be about 120 hours. And that will be all filled out in the logbook. Now we're going to turn it back off. And I'm going to install each filter. And I need to turn the water off to the system before doing that. That just comes off by pulling down on the quick connect. Water's off. Dump that out. Make sure you don't lose this black O-ring. These both say carbon, but your sediment will always be this plain white filter. Stick it down in there. Make sure that that little nipple on the bottom is in the hole. If you can see it there, you'll be able to figure that out. Put it on. Try to make sure that the filter is centered when you screw it on. You don't want to over tighten this. There are wrenches for doing this, but if you don't need them, it's better to just do hand tight. I'll remove the carbon filter. Same thing, make sure you don't lose the O-ring or you won't have pressure. You'll have water leaking out the top here. Install the carbon filter. This also has a black O-ring on each side that you need to make sure is on there. Doesn't matter which way it goes in, same up or down for these two. Same thing, try to keep it nice and level. Twist it on. Hand tight. So these two are what you'd call pre-filters. They filter out the sediment and chlorine, basically. Then it runs through this reverse osmosis filter, and lastly the DI, which is your, I'm blanking on what DI means. I'll remember in a minute. And this is the DI filter. It's filled with resin. Show you that. Actually, I want to open the other side. So this resin will be gold. As it gets older, the resin will turn black, and it won't always turn black if it's bad, but that's one good indication that it is glowing. How can I not remember what DI means?
You're just not thinking right. I don't know.
This O-ring on this filter is actually the most difficult. With this one, I think I put a couple little dots of super glue just to keep it in place, because if it gets bent or kinked somewhere, it will never sit in place like this. So try to be careful with that one. Same thing, black O-ring there. With this one, it does matter which side is up. You want the O-ring up. Feel drop down into place there. Don't over tighten it, just hand tight. Excuse me. All right, filters are installed. So we'll hook the water back up. And you can see this O-ring is starting to go on this quick connect here. So what we will need to do if we are getting a leak is either just replace this male end of the quick connect or replace the O-ring on it. Install that. It's easier to do if the water isn't on, but it's quicker to do if the water is on, so be a man and do it with it on. You just gotta make sure you push it up nice and tight. You'll see that collar lock up, and then you're good to go. Now we've got water running. Open the flush valve. You wanna hold this hose when you open the flush valve.
Oh.
No, you're just cameraman.
Woman.
Yes. And we don't have any water right now because all these filters we just put in were dry. So they're gonna take a while to saturate. We're just gonna let them saturate without the motor running, just because we got a lot of time on our hands right now. So while that's filling up, I'll show you how to run your 5/16 tubing through the pole. And actually before I do that, I'll show you right here. We have a splitter, so we can run 2 poles on this machine. That turns each one on. It's always, when it's perpendicular, it's off. Parallel is on. So we just have this one line hooked up. This is your 3/8. And then it reduces down to your 5/16. Same thing here, quick connect. We have quick connects on everything. And then your 5/16 is another smaller quick connect. To release that, you push down, pull out on your 5/16 tubing. Put it back in, just push in, pull out, and you can feel it's locked. Same thing. Then we're gonna run our tubing through the bottom. You want your pole to be fully collapsed when you run the tubing, otherwise it'll catch on the smaller sections as you're pushing it through. So you can see here, this is kind of a junky older pole, but you can see all the sections are fully collapsed, and I can easily get it into the smaller section. Run that through. Give it about a foot of slack or 2 feet. Grab it there. You got same thing, quick connect. To attach, just push it in. You can sometimes feel a little bit of a click, but the teeth in there will lock it in. And you got your boar's hair brush here. You want to push that out a little bit so it's not too tight. Step on that to pull your slack out. Feed it into the top. Release your clamp. And this one's a little tight, so we'll loosen it. Now this is a lot of information right now. It will get easier as you work with the equipment. Lock that into place. You want it to be a little bit of an effort to lock it, otherwise you're too loose. Now your pole is set up, and Got a little bit of water running through here now, so I'm gonna kick the motor on. Again, the flush valve is still open, so we're flushing out the RO membrane with the flush open, and you always want to do that. Otherwise, we'll have to replace it more often than we should. So do that for about a minute. Every time you turn the machine on, you want to run it with the flush open for 1 minute. 30 seconds is fine. And then before you shut the motor off, you open the flush valve again for a minute. What are you laughing at? It's supposed to be a professional video.
Sorry.
All right. Oh yeah, about 20 seconds. Like I said, 30 seconds is fine, especially when we're using this every day. But it is important to flush out the RO membrane. So I shut the flush valve. Always gonna have wastewater coming out. So basically, I'll show you the TDS of the wastewater. It'll probably be around 400. 198. So the TDS level is what makes it so that the water doesn't leave spots when it dries on the window. When you have it low, around 0, you can clean the window and rinse it and it dries spot free. So you can see the water, pure water, is running through 3/8 hose to the 5/8 tubing, up the carbon fiber pole, out the horsehair brush. So check your TDS level right out of the brush, rinse it 1 time. We're at 14. Try it again. 11. We'll give it a minute and hopefully that number will go down closer to 0. Pretty much the highest level you want to be working with is under 20. You can get by under 20. Ideally, it'll be less than 5. Try it one more time. 7, so that should eventually get down to 0. It's all new filters, and that takes a while for them all to be working properly and filter everything out. You can see right here, we have a little bit of a leak. So that's something you're gonna wanna try to tighten with the machine off. Just another quick overview. You got your garden hose from the house, feeds into your sediment housing, or your sediment filter, your carbon filter, then to your RO, reverse osmosis, lastly to the DI, and then out to your pure water line. I think that might be everything. Welcome to Shine Window Cleaning.